What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to a Social Matrix podcast. I am your host, Armin, and today we have a special guest here with us. His name is Ross Jeffries, the founder of Speed Seduction. Please, Ross, take it away. Tell us who you are, and then we'll jump into the topic.
Why, I'm Ross Jeffries, the Parantapa, the Scorcher of the Foe, Lord of Living Language, Master of Muff, Prince of Poon, the Ayatollah of Moist Pink Cola. I am the first and I am the last, the Alpha and the Omega. I am the founder and king and demigod of the entire pickup and seduction community, which I don't know is something I should be proud of or ashamed of, whether I should boast or whether I should hide it. But there it is. I am a master hypnotist. I've been hypnotizing people for 35 years, and I'm a master NLPer. I've been doing NLP for 35 years, trained with the co-creator, Richard Bandler, and some other folks as well. And more importantly, people say to me, what's your body count? I say hundreds of thousands. And by that, I mean the only body count that matters are the lives that I've transformed and changed. And those are endless. In fact, they've now been passed from generation to generation, from father to son. So there you go. That's me. And I'm a cat daddy, and my new cat, Lalele, is here. She's a big fat black cat, and she's in her carrier because she likes to sleep in there.
Lovely. I love that. Cool. All right. So, Ross, the topic here is it's about authenticity and manipulation and how both of these relate into dating.
Yes, you're frozen, buddy.
Okay,
You're frozen.
Okay,
Well, you're okay. Here we go.
okay. So I'll mention it again. So the topic is about authenticity and manipulation and how it relates into dating.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what is wrong in being real and genuine without memorizing and coming up with
I
patterns?
think it's a laughable question. It's a laughably stupid question because it makes so many assumptions and has so many ill-defined terms. First of all, what does authentic even mean? So many guys say, I'm being genuine, I'm being authentic, when in reality, they're just doing what they program themselves to do. They're just stuck. To me, often, authentic and genuine just means you're doing what you've habitually, robotically always done. So if a guy has no skill at engaging in conversations that engage a woman's imagination, emotions, gets her imagining, being connected, any of those things, and instead he talks about his boring job as an IT software manager, he asks her fact-based questions like, what do you do for fun? Instead of, when you want to do something that makes you feel totally alive, get your heart beating hard, and time flies by, what do you love to do? So what I hear, most of the time when I hear authentic and genuine, why can't I just be myself? Well, yourself is batshit boring, stuck in being a people pleaser, et cetera, et cetera. That's number one. Number two, you're creating a false either or dichotomy. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. I never said lie to a woman. I never said, say you're a plumber, say you're a doctor when you're a plumber. I never said ever, I challenge you anywhere in my work, 35-year body of work, to find a single instance of me saying, oh, I want a long-term relationship, when in reality, you just want to have fun. I encourage my students to tell the truth about facts. If it's about facts, you tell the truth. That doesn't mean you have to go spilling your guts. So I think it's a really, really amateurish question for the reasons that I just gave.
I love that. It makes a lot of sense. I love your articulation with it. The example you give about I work in IT, so the example you give about IT, it hit home. That was good.
Of course you do.
Now, what advice would you give yourself on the day you started your journey?
What advice? You mean when I came out of my mother's Womb? What are you talking about? Be precise with your questions.
Sure. On the day that, let's say, you started to learn these patterns and get involved with pickup, what advice would you give yourself if you could go like right
Think
now?
less,
Yeah.
think less, experiment more.
Hmm. Could you
Think
go
less,
more into that?
experiment more.
Could you go more into that?
Are you asking me if I could, or you're asking me to do so?
To do so, to go more into it.
Sure. So I'm a highly creative human being. Speed seduction, I continue to create new patterns, although not at the speed I used to, or as much as I used to like to. But one of the challenges of being creative with language or anything is it's more fun to create something new than to practice and master what you've already created. So I would have told my beginning self, practice more of the same thing before you create something new.
Practice the same thing before you build something new.
Yep.
I love that. That's really deep. Okay, now, did you have more you wanted to add with that?
No.
Okay. Now, you kind of mentioned this from the first question, but I'm gonna still bring it up. What would, okay, if manipulation could also be negative, as seen as positive, what would harmful NLP manipulation hypnosis, what would harmful,
What is that even? First of all, that shows me you don't know what NLP is.
well, NLP, from my understanding, is you are saying specific words and saying
That's wrong.
things. Okay, then
That's not NLP. NLP is, I'm going to, wait, Ross is an arrogant ass. She kept interrupting. Yeah, fuck you. I can afford to do what I want. I've earned the right to howl at the moon, guys. So, um, what what does manipulation in NLP mean? First of all, NLP is a modeling technology. Originally, John Grinder, who is a linguist, and Richard Bandler, who is a mathematician and a musician, were very interested. They got interested in how certain therapists could achieve seemingly miraculous results. Milton Erickson, who was the father of modern hypnotherapy, he took it out of the dark ages of look at my watch and you will get sleepy and made it entirely conversational. They wanted to know how Milton structured his language. What was he doing with his language? What was he noticing? How was he using his body and his tonality? So they developed this NLP, which is basically a technology for modeling excellence. They looked at Milton, who I think really the NLP model for selling and for therapy comes from studying Milton Erickson. A lot of my speed seduction comes from my reading Erickson's books. So NLP is a modeling technology. It looks at what people do well, extracts the elements and sequences in that talent, and then teaches it to people who don't have it. So that's the true meaning of NLP. Now, you're talking about what does destructive NLP look like? You're mistaking the methodology, the technology for the results that distill down out of it. That's like mistaking the car's exhaust for the car's engine. The engine makes the exhaust, not the other way around. So your real question is NLP language patterns, right? So if you were to rephrase the question again, excuse me, say the question again now in light of what I just said.
okay, I'll do my best. But using NLP, how can you use NLP with the patterns and the structure to be harmful and manipulative? I mean, harmful and to do wrong.
I wouldn't know because I've never used it to do wrong. I'm not, it sounds like a flippant answer, but if you want to do wrong, you can manipulate. Look, emotional manipulation exists without NLP in there. If you want to do wrong to people, gaslight them, love bomb them, be controlling, there are all sorts of ways to harm people romantically that without involving language patterns. My thing is to tell my students, leave them better than you found them, to give women experiences they've craved, but no other guy can give them.
Yeah, I love it.
Inside of that If you use my stuff and you're giving women all these emotional highs, and then suddenly you take it away and start making demands that they violate their own ethical code, then you could use it destructively. But the implication behind your question is it is in and of itself destructive and can't be used responsibly. And I reject that implication.
Okay, I love
May
it.
as well ask, can you use mystery method destructively? What would that look like? You can do anything destructively.
That's true. Anything could be a weapon, even paper. That's true. Now, now at this point in your life, is NLP patterns and all these things, is this something that you can turn off, or is this integrated into your personality at this point?
Could I turn it off? It's a good question. No, I don't think I could turn off the part of NLP that teaches me what to observe about people and how to listen for the terms that and the words that move them. No, I could not turn it off. No, I wouldn't want to. Why turn it off? It makes my world more fun. I can understand people better than they understand themselves. Whether I choose to use it further in a more aggressive way gets to be my choice. Excuse me.
Yeah, I love that. Now, what are you when somebody other than yourself, obviously, when someone else is okay, let me rephrase the question. Are you aware when people's decisions or actions were a result of a direction of NLP techniques?
Am I aware of when people's decision? You mean any person or the people, only the people I'm interacting with? And I can't make them decide. I can influence it. I am aware of when people are responding to my use of NLP. But if you're asking me, can I watch television and say, oh, the people are voting for this guy because he's using NLP? Is that I genuinely, no, I'm not being arrogant. I genuinely do not understand the question. I can see, if you're asking, can I see it when I'm doing it, the results? Yes. Are you asking in general, can I see, oh, that person is using NLP, here's how he or she is influencing this outcome? I really do not understand.
Not on TV. Like, let's say you go to like an outing, and then you're observe like people watching. Can you people watch somebody, and let's say you were like in a distance, they could hear them. Could you be able to tell that they're
Of
using
course,
NLP?
of
Okay.
course, of course. I'm a master. I've been doing this 35. Of course I can. I've had people clumsily try to use it with me. I just laughed at them and said, oh, you're doing this, this, and this. You need to go back to school because you're doing a piss poor job.
Do you ever offer your program with them when they have messed
If
up?
they want to pay me $5,000 an hour, sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, what NLP techniques if you use any, did you use any NLP techniques like on this interview right here?
No, I'm just calling you on the dumbass questions.
I love it. No, please call it out. Okay, that's good. Now, what is the longevity of NLP? So you kind of mentioned this already, where you mentioned you haven't like made a pattern as fast as in the past. But what would the longevity of this look like for the rest of your life? Like, do you need to consistently come up with patterns, or are you able to just
Dude, you're such
live?
dumb questions. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be personally insulting, but
No, you're good.
I don't have to do anything new. I can go back and use things I've done in 1994 and intend to quite shortly with someone I just met. Actually, I'm already doing it. Yeah, so the longevity, let me turn around and ask you a question because I'm being a dick to you, and it's enough to be. I've been a dick long enough.
I'm okay, Ross. I'm okay with this.
Oh, okay. What's the longevity of classical music?
I hear your logic.
What's the longevity of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony?
Forever, as long as you're alive. You can.
Did it last after Beethoven?
No, I'm saying if you mean the music, right? So as long as you're alive, there's longevity with it as long as you're alive.
Me? No, Beethoven's music is still around. He died what? 400 years ago,
That's what I'm
500 years?
saying. Like the listener, whoever, the longevity is forever.
Exactly. And now with AI, it's really forever.
That's true. Okay. And to just to let you know, these questions were compiled with a bunch of other people. Okay. So, but and
Hey, take responsibility. It's
I'm
your show.
okay.
So
No,
it's
I'm completely okay. I thought these questions were actually some of them really good, but it's okay. You're the master, and these
some
are
of them are
the correct.
some of them are really good.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Not all of them are going to be gold. All right,
Yeah.
but your answers are always gold, so it's
You
still
know, you haven't asked me the question that really is interesting. You
okay.
haven't even thought to ask.
Is it?
I've heard if I'm impatient or
Yeah.
scoffing or laughing or ridiculing, it's because I've heard these questions for 30 years. But no one has asked me this question. No one has said, Ross, what keeps you passionate about doing this? You've been doing it 35 years and you're still as interested in it as you were 35 years ago. What has kept you passionate about it each and every day? Now, you didn't even think to ask that, and no one has thought to ask that. And no one has thought to ask, how do you come up with these things? No, very few people will ask me, what's your creative process? How do you go when you create a pattern? How do you know it's a good one? How do you even go about it? How do you know when it's time to create? No one asks about process,
Hmm.
and no one asks those kinds of questions. So if you want to have influence with people, don't ask why are you passionate about something. Ask questions. Think to yourself, what's a question about this person's process, how they move through the world, and what's their motivation for doing it? Ask them about that instead of factual things like how long have you been doing it, blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you now, Ross, what has kept you passionate for this long to continue doing your work
I
with
love
daily
language.
life?
I am in love with language. I sort of have OCD for I love language. I love grammar. I'm a grammar nerd. In in grade school, am I like
No, you're good.
in grade school when we had to do grammar? I loved diagramming sentences. I would want to stay after the recess bell. I would want to stay there and not go out to recess and diagram more sentences. I'm in love with language. I'm in love with the creativity. And I want people to fall in love with it the way I'm in love with it.
Hmm.
And I'd like having impact. I got a beautiful email yesterday from someone saying how my seduction stuff led him eventually to his wife and then to having a son and to becoming a coach himself. So for me, having an impact on other people is extremely important. Nothing like single malt whiskey in the middle of the day. It's just water. I don't drink alcohol at all.
I understand. Okay, lovely. No, I understand. Okay, that's great. So basically the transformations and change you're doing and how it's affecting other people, besides your own natural passions of loving language and everything, is that
Yes.
at the end of the day what it's impacting? Okay.
Yes. I'm very impact minded and results driven and impact minded, or impact driven and results minded, or whatever. I'm driven to have positive impact in other people's lives.
Yeah, I love that. What's your favorite part about coaching?
I wouldn't even call myself a coach anymore. I'm a mentor. That's a higher level of doing things. Watching people change how they think, not repeating or memorizing what I do, but noticing those moments when their entire way of looking at the world goes "Boop," and the matrix falls away and they can see the matrix and they start thinking for themselves, when they can learn to generate their own language patterns, when they surpass me in seduction. Nothing makes me prouder than to have the student surpass the master. That tells me that I'm achieving what I really want, is to be the best teacher and mentor. There are people who are much better seducers than I am, but they can't hold a candle to me as a teacher or a change worker.
Hmm.
That's my claim.
Yeah, I love that. It's amazing. Now, how do you come up with these patterns? How do you know it's amazing?
Now you're too late to you've
I'm a good
lost the,
listener.
you've lost the right to ask me those questions.
I'm a good listener.
You've
For the
lost the
people, not for me, Russ, for the people.
two ways. I like to go to a coffee place and stare out the window and just doodle. And excuse me, in one of these.
The journal.
I have 50 of them. And suddenly a little piece of a pattern will come to me, like just a few strings of words. Then the structure of the pattern will come to me. I'll think, this is fucking cool. Let's go out and try it. And I'll test it like 4 or 5 times. And then I know if it works, then I know I've got a good one. The other way is spontaneously. I'm in the field and something just comes out of my mouth. It just is created on the spot and piecemeal. It's not a full pattern. Then I'll go home and go, oh, that piece worked. Let's create a whole pattern around it. So there's 2 processes I use to create. Now that you notice how my responses are much more engaged, how I'm much nicer to you, because now you're touching how I create things. You're touching my passion, creativity.
Yeah.
It's a much better question because it's dealing with my process and my passion and what I enjoy and how do I do what I enjoy, not why, but how.
How? Love that. Okay. Now, something you mentioned, well, you mentioned this earlier, but when you're coming
You would
up
make
with,
a great Aladdin if you wore like a fez and
I just need a magic carpet. It'd be perfect.
yeah. What is
Yeah.
your ethnicity?
Persian.
Oh, goose. Tohoshkeli.
Goose. That's one of my favorite words. I love goose.
What, goose?
Goose is my
My
favorite.
friend Renee, who has a shelter where I adopted this cat, says that in Persian, you don't tell people to shut up, you tell them go choke,
Go joke.
right? Tell them to go and choke. You
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
she told me how to say it, but it's in a long text chain that
Okay. Whenever you remember, please let me know. I would love to
Mhm.
I'd love to hear it. All right. Now, when you're coming up with these patterns, how do you ever come up with new, I have a hard time to articulate this, I'm gonna do my best. Do you ever come up with new powerful words? So I understand like the words like feel or strong or deep. Those are those are words that someone might pick up and make an innuendo or feel, those words. But do you ever come up with, and if you do, how does that work? How do you know this word? You mentioned like you'll go out there and practice it, but is there a moment when you say a specific word where you're like, holy shit, wow, like there's power in this word. Does that ever,
Well,
is that a thing?
I've been doing this, with all due respect, Armin, I've been doing this 35 years. There's only so many moments like that that can run their course. You're asking about phonetic ambiguities like new direction and new direction. Is that what you're asking about? Phonetic ambiguities
Yes.
specifically?
Hmm.
Is it?
Yes, about the power behind the word. Is that similar?
I don't, are you asking me, do I come up with new phonetic ambiguities like succeed and succeed?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking me? Or are you
Yes.
asking me something else?
No, I don't know what that word meant, but once you explained it, yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's not important. I am pointing at the moon and you are looking at my finger. Do not look at the finger. You will miss all that heavenly glory.
Hmm. Okay. So, all right, then not the semantics, right? Because I was talking more about the semantics of the usage of words you're using, saying, do you ever come up with like new, not just like the overview, not just like the emotional overview, but if you're going more technical, do you like when I say you come up with new
I
ones?
didn't come up with the rules of
Yeah.
grammar and semantics.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to go with.
I'm not Korbeczewski and those people. I'm not on that level. I'm considering myself a genius, but I'm not on that level.
Okay.
I didn't write the rules of logic or grammar. That's way above my pay grade.
Okay, that's where I was going with it. And I'm not sure if the word you used earlier was relating to that, but that's where I was going with it. But okay, so as the being the pioneer of seduction, How have you used your wisdom and knowledge to lead in your own personal life?
Being the founder, how have I used the wisdom and knowledge in my own personal life? You mean how many women have I gotten, or what quality of women have I gotten, or
Not
have,
necessarily about that, but more about like family and if this is personal, you could stop me, but more about like have you used this knowledge and wisdom to like start a family, have like
no, I don't want to. No, 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 no. I have a fur family, and my nephews and my nieces are my family, and my friends are the family of my heart. I don't want a flesh and blood family. I never did.
okay. Was that
Never. I
yeah.
listen. I'm having enough frustration getting this new cat to get along with my
Yeah.
cat I've had for 5 years. I can't imagine the stress of having human children. I would strangle my children. I would put their heads underwater until they stop breathing. I love children as long as they're not mine.
Okay, that's good to know. So a fair family, love it. All right, now are there any books that you recommend for anyone who wants to just improve their own skills with women, but also specific books that you might have read to help yourself in your own journey when you were mastering this craft?
I have favorite books. One of my books, one of the favorite books I read that got me to understand Milton Erickson is called Phoenix, The Therapeutic Patterns of Milton Erickson. Of course, Bandler and Grinder's original books that were done way back in the day, Transformations, Trance-Formations, and Frogs and the Princes. Wonderful books. Just opened my mind. My mind blossomed open to NLP when I read those books. Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson and The New Inquisition by Robert Anton Wilson will teach you how to think outside the box. Let's see what else. Can this be about any subject or just about thinking in NLP and hypnosis?
Could be about any subject.
Carnage
Yeah.
and Culture by Victor Davis Hanson.
Mhm.
That's all about how the West wins its battles.
Mhm.
Uh, no, I wasn't really prepped for that question. I apparently didn't see that one, but I read so many books I couldn't even begin to tell you. Oh, when it comes to fiction, I don't read fiction much, but of course the novel Dune by Frank Herbert,
Mhm.
and then anything by Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick, the movies you see, so many of them have been taken from his stories. And did you see the movie Blade Runner?
I have. Good movie.
That comes from his story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Hmm.
Taken
Check it out.
directly from that story. Um, Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Remember that movie?
Good
That
movie.
was from his story, We Can Remember It For You whole retail, or We Can Remember It For You wholesale. Bunch of anything by Philip K. Dick. I love him. My favorite Philip K. Dick novel, Valis, Valis. It's funny and sad and thought-provoking and mysterious and amazing. It's my favorite all-time novel. It stands for Vast Active Living Intelligence System. It's Philip K. Dick had a total psychotic break, and it's what he wrote during his psychotic break. Now, if you can imagine someone who creates whole new worlds, who's a science fiction writer, when they go psychotic, what kind of worlds pop up in their head? That's what. Oh, another one by Norman Spinrad. The book is called Iron Dream, and the premise of the book is what would happen if Adolf Hitler never rose to power. Instead, he became a science fiction writer. What kind of science fiction novel would Adolf Hitler write? And so it's called Iron Dream, supposedly by Adolf Hitler, but it's actually written by Norman Spinrad. Please don't come at me saying I'm a Hitler lover. I'm a Jew, right? The premise of this book is what if Hitler wrote science fiction and he never became the Führer of Germany? That would be a good thing because 6 million of my people would never have been slaughtered. that would be great. But
Yeah,
okay.
great. Yeah. Yeah. Any other books you want to suggest?
Um, if you want to learn to write copy that sells a lot of stuff, read Gary Halbert. You can't get it anymore, but it's called Maximum Money and Minimum Time. Anything by Gary Halbert, Halbert. His son Bond has a website, the Gary Halbert newsletter. Gary taught me how to write copy. If it weren't for Richard Bandler and Milton Erickson and Gary Halbert, there would be no me, and then there would be no seduction community, or the seduction community would have come along 10 years later. Sooner or later, someone would have figured out something and promoted it on the internet.
This is a good segue to my next question. Who are some of your like top three mentors throughout life?
My mother, I wouldn't call him a mentor. Well, no, Richard Bandler is a mentor. And then teacher, Shinzen Young, my meditation teacher. Speaking of which, I need to go do. I haven't meditated in 2 days. I can feel the effects in my mind.
Yeah, good reminder. Now, I'm looking for an answer for this, okay? What is your style of game? How would you explain your communication skills in relation to dating?
These are really bizarre questions. I'm going to hammer on you because these are bizarre. I'm not going to give you an essay on speed seduction. I'm just not going to do it. I have plenty of free stuff. Go to seduction.com, grab the conversation code. It's a little video course that'll teach you, excuse me, the basics of speed seduction. It's completely free. Go find out that way. I'm not going to give you a mini seminar on speed seduction. Not happening.
Okay. Okay. Now, okay, let's break that in a different way then. Not necessarily like your point blank, exact process, but if you were to articulate like your style of game, like the way you communicate and everything, how would you explain it?
It's the powerful, effective style that works the most efficiently. That's how I'd answer it.
Okay.
You want to get me to say indirect versus direct, night game versus day game, social circle game. No, it's none of that stuff.
No, I
It's the
was
kind
gonna
of
say.
game. It's the kind of game that's not a game. It is learning to evoke emotion in women, learning to evoke fascination, connection, desire, the need to be swept away. It's learning to do that very rapidly, very quickly. And all this direct, indirect bullshit, you can be direct if you know how to do it through humor. The more direct, the better, I say, if you do it through humor.
More indirect with humor. Is that what
I
you
said direct. You can
direct? Okay. So more direct with humor. Like,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Now, if you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
To avoid interviewers who ask these kind of questions.
Okay, no, but really, if you have to pick something else.
Superpower. And I would like to be intangible. That means I can change my density, like the Vision in the comic books. So if I want to become intangible, so things just pass through me, I could do it. Or if I wanted to become as impenetrable as diamond or adamantium, I could do that. Intangibility.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. Okay, that's wild. Now, yeah, I'm sure you have heard of the concept called the shit test. When you are doing your patterns, when you get an objection, okay, so you're doing your pattern, get an objection, how do you get around that? And also, what's your take on shit test?
Where are you going with this stuff? This is such low level stuff. There's no such thing as a shit test. There's only a woman seeing if you'll stand up to her as a way of proving to her that you'll stand up for her. The woman's calculation is if he won't stand up to me, he won't stand up for me. Women are looking for a guy who'll stand up for them. So to me, what you call a shit test is only a search for strength. That's it. And so I turn things around with humor. I always my default response is humor. So if a woman says to me, I have a boyfriend, my response is not to put her down or to neg her. My response is to say, now, Debbie, you don't need to convince me someone else finds you attractive. That's not how I make up my mind about you. I turn it around. So it becomes about her trying to use social proof to convince me to ask her out.
Okay, love that. Cool. Now, how would you use patterns in a group setting? Okay, like when you're going in first time meeting this new group, when
I
you're
don't do group.
what happened?
I don't do group
You don't do group? Okay, why is that?
because my stuff is not designed to work with groups.
Okay,
It's designed to work one-on-one.
okay, so always one-on-one then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm just being open-minded, and I'm asking this because you are the master. You're the only person to ask this question to. If you were forced to talk into like a group,
First,
how would you bend your pattern to
people try to
work out?
force me. Anyone who tries to force me to do anything does so at their peril, does so at the risk of their life. So no one's ever going to force me to do anything. I'm an armed citizen and I know how to use my weapons and my firearms. No one will ever force me into doing anything.
Okay. Any,
Other than an armed officer of the law, no one's going to force me to do anything.
okay. And there's no possible way we can expand that just for this conversation here?
I haven't thought about. I've done. I can do it with two women. I just get them both intrigued and then ignore the friend and talk to the woman who's attractive. I've done that before successfully. If women are interested, they'll give their friend a little hidden girl signal, whatever that is, and she'll go away.
Okay, love that. Okay, so there is a way. There's a way to involve, both of them within.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, we spoke about patterns for a bit. When you're like well, let me ask this a better question.
Hold, can we pause a minute?
Of course, go for it.
Pause. Let's. We're
Okay.
back.
All right, we are back. All right, my last question for you, Ross, is
The last question. Happy days are here again.
okay, cool. Last question for you is that now you've been doing this for I would say more than 35, or so years. And you're really passionate about, the work that you do. Do you,
What?
how
Hold
do
on
you
a
see
minute.
yourself
I
retiring?
have a put. I have put. I got some pussy who just walked in the room. I want to show you.
Okay, Sean.
I love
Yeah,
black pussy.
that's
Look at that
sexy.
black. Look at that beautiful black pussy.
It's a babe.
Once you
And
go
that,
black, you never switch back. Right, Lalele? Say hi, Lalele. Say hi.
I heard the hi.
Did you hear it? I love this
I
kitty.
heard, yeah.
Lalele. Her name means dandelion in Hawaiian. Yeah, keep going.
So now you mentioned that you're really passionate about you doing this. And basically my question is about retirement. How do you see if you do choose to retire at some point, how do you see your business moving and just your life in general?
Can't talk about it.
Okay.
let's just say there's something in the works and I cannot talk about it.
Okay. All right. We won't
Like
bring
I
it up.
literally cannot talk. I'm restrained by contract to not talk about it.
Okay. That's totally fine.
The world will
Uh,
find out. I'm not exaggerating. At this point, it's still in negotiation, but
Awesome. Well, I will be looking forward to whatever it is. I'm excited. Well, Ross, it was a pleasure having you here.
I
And I
wish I
hope
could say the
you,
same.
okay. I was going to
I'm
mention,
just fucking, dude. I'm fucking with you because you're letting me.
I'm okay with
It
it.
was okay.
Yeah.
It was not so bad as I'm leading it on to be. You're very decent to me, and I'm kind of cranky because I'm sleep deprived. I get it. People will say, "Why was Ross such an asshole?"
It's okay. I don't take anything. I'm not offended at all. I'm okay
Oh,
with
well, we'll
whatever
have
you
to try
present.
harder. We'll have to try harder.
Try hard, Ross. You're not haven't brushed the iceberg. Okay. I'm still cool.
I'm
Um,
fucking with you. I'm
yeah.
just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Every human being deserves compassion, unless they're anti-Semites, unless they hate Jews, in which case they should burn in hell forever in a pit of fetid semen with a red-hot fireplace poker shoved up their ass sideways. If you hate Jews or you're not a Zionist, go fuck yourself.
Hmm. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay?
I agree with you. Cool. Well, Ross, I would love to do more podcasts with you in the future. You
Well,
and my people as well.
you just keep hoping, and maybe the good fairy that sits in the sky will
Okay.
grant your every
Good. I'm
wish.
gonna write
In the
more questions
meantime,
for you.
in the meantime, if you want to float like a butterfly and fuck like a bee and learn to seduce girls the way I do, go to seduction.com, get your free copy of the conversation code, and don't communicate like an IT software person. All right, I gotta let you go and take a nap.
Hi, Ross. You have a blessed day, and it was a pleasure having you here.
All right, goose, goose, goose.
All right. Good, good, good. See you.